Hello guys, welcome back to Beyond the Realms, and today I'm going to be reviewing a film I've been looking forward to for a very long time. It is the latest DC animated film for Batman: The Dark Knight Returns Part 1. Now, there may be a little bit of confusion with some people, because I actually have had a few people say, isn't it The Dark Knight Rises? No, in fact, this is not. This is not associated with Christopher Nolan's films whatsoever. For those of you that don't know, this is part one of two that's coming out of films that are based on the 1986 graphic novel of the same name from Frank Miller. Frank Miller is also responsible for Sin City, Batman Year One, The Dark Knight Strikes Back, Ronin, reinvented Daredevil in the 80s. So, you know, Frank Miller, very prolific writer, and is based on the first two comics out of that, in which, as you can see, there's a lot to this, a lot of information in those two books. So the story is basically a middle-aged Bruce Wayne who has given up being Batman. He has taken up auto racing. He's just retired. And he's just enjoying his life, you know. But at the same time, all around him, not just Gotham, but the whole world is crumbling. You know, America is on the verge of having a nuclear war with the Soviet Union, and and then in Gotham, you know, it's just, there's so much crime and drugs and just corruption everywhere. And it's all headed off by a very powerful gang called the Mutants, which is basically just wanting to completely take over Gotham, but also from there take over the world. So, you know, this of course, brings Bruce Wayne out of retirement. He wants to straighten things up one last time. And also, you know, you got Harvey Dent in this, who has a face reconstruction, and says he's reformed. So there's things that happen with that. You got this little 13-year-old girl named Carrie who really starts to like Batman and wants to take up crime fighting herself. And it's not really spoiling anything by saying that she does, in fact, become Robin, because it's right there on the box. I mean, so people who think I'm spoiling something, I'm not really. So that's your basic setup for this story. It has a lot to do with the mutants in this particular version, or this particular one, part one. You know, as I said, I've been looking forward to this for a very long time. You know, this was announced last year as coming out, and I just got so excited because I always thought, man, this would be an awesome movie. They could, you know, really do this well. And, you know, right off the bat, I got kind of nervous because I know they do these animated films that are only like 75 minutes long. I'm thinking, damn, they cannot do this justice. You know, Year One was able to do justice because it wasn't as dense. It didn't have as much stuff in it as this. But then they said it would be coming out in two parts, and I felt a sigh of relief come over me, as I'm sure many of you did also. They wouldn't have to just cram that whole story into 75 minutes. So, you know, with part one coming out, I just couldn't wait to get it. So I picked it up, and I finally saw it. And, you know, did it live up to expectations? Well, for the most part, yes. I mean, for the vast majority, I should say, yes, it did totally live up to my expectations. You know, for a story that was called unfilmable, like Watchmen was, you know, it's just, there's so much going on, and the way it jumps around, you know, it will be a local news broadcast, and all kinds of stuff being said. And the very next panel will be Jim Gordon and what's going on in his life. The very next panel will be Bruce Wayne, what he's thinking. Then in the next panel will be national news with the president and the Soviets and all this stuff. And then in the next panel, it'll jump to the mutants. I mean, it jumps around frequently, and oftentimes, like right in the middle of you know, some scene that they're building up, it'll jump right into something else. So you know, it's been called unfilmable. So basically, director John Olivia, you know, he basically took a story like this, and they made it into something that could be filmed. You know, they had to make some changes. Obviously, there's just no way to do this panel for panel. It can't happen. And you know, Bruce Timm is a producer on this. He was also big in with the '90s Batman animated series that everybody, you know, holds in high regard. He was a producer on this. Michael Urslin which has been responsible for basically everything Batman since Tim Burton's movie. And, you know, of course there was changes that had to be made, and there are some significant changes at times. Bruce Wayne's thoughts, you know, the things that he's thinking and going through, the struggles that he's going through back and forth with Batman, and should he do it, should he not. A lot of that has been taken out of the film, and or the story, I should say, not put into the film. And I think that's probably one of the things that most people will have a problem with. You know, I didn't so much because I guess because I already, you know, I know the story well, and I already knew, you know, what he was thinking as they're showing this stuff, because they basically just show him going about his day. I mean, in the book, you're hearing his thoughts, you're reading his thoughts as you see this stuff. For me, I think it worked. I think it worked because it gave the film time to breathe, because there's so much going on in the book, so much information. You know, if they would have had that also, that kind of voiceover thing going on, I think it just would have been just too much going on, and it would have seemed like everything just kind of crammed in there. By not doing that, you're still seeing what he's going through. They still have the little flashbacks to his past, but they've pulled back on a lot of that, and it just kind of gives the film a chance, you know, for you to just kind of be able to take it in the quieter moments, you know, stuff like that. You know, and then a couple other things that they changed in this, you know, in the book, Commissioner Gordon's always got a cigar. Well, of course, to be politically correct, of course, you don't want to influence the kids nowadays. They took away the cigar and gave Commissioner Gordon chiclets. Yes, bubble gum in this. So that's a little different. The story in general, it's a little less violent, which I understand. You know, because if they would have done this as violent as the comic is, it would have had to have been R-rated, and they don't want to put out an R-rated animated movie. I mean, it's a stretch doing PG-13, and I'd say it's a strong PG-13 still, even with that violence being pulled back a little bit. Just overall, the story's a little bit more streamlined, a little bit more easier to digest, and I don't know, because there's some panels in the comic that I don't think Frank Miller is the best artist. Like there's panels in the graphic novel that I've always had a problem with. It just doesn't really make sense, and sometimes it's hard to tell what's going on. Well, they've kind of streamlined the artwork. The artwork in the film, it's actually pretty damn accurate to the comic, though. Most of the time, like the characters are spot on, man. Like all of them look just how they do basically in the graphic novel. Like like if you've seen the trailer, you'll know what I'm talking about. The mutants look awesome. Batman looks the same. Robin looks the same. Commissioner Gordon, they all basically look the same. But just the artwork in general is just a little bit more easier to take in with this. A little bit more streamlined, just everything in general with this. Now, as far as the voice acting goes, the first thing I have to say is the mutants. Their dialogue at times is just... it just doesn't work. Like, they use a lot of lingo, like futuristic lingo and stuff, and they're always saying slice and dice and shive and stuff like this. It's just a lot of lingo going on, and they put it all in here, and it just doesn't work for the voice acting. It doesn't translate to film very well at times. It comes off as just cheesy, and it just doesn't work. Peter Weller is Batman, which... if any of you know him, you will know him as the original RoboCop. He does pretty good. I mean, he has that older, gruffer voice that you would expect Batman to have at 55 years old. He's a little stiff at times. Some of his line delivery just doesn't quite work, but it's okay for the most part. But I overall was pretty impressed with Peter Weller. Ariel Winter does really good as Robin. I thought she was really good. I have no complaints whatsoever as far as Robin goes. David Selby does Commissioner Gordon, and I didn't really care for him. Honestly, guys, I did not really care for him at all. Just not an impressive Gordon. I guess, you know, coming off of Bryan Cranston being Commissioner Gordon in year one, it was a lot to live up to. And of course they couldn't use him here because it has to be a little bit older of a voice. But it was stiff throughout. It didn't seem natural. It just, you know, a lot of bland parts with Gordon. Michael Emerson is the Joker, and there's only a handful at most of lines from the Joker in this. But right towards the end, without spoiling anything, he says something that is just... it's awesome. I cannot wait to see what this guy does with the Joker in part 2. He's never done the Joker before, and I'm anxious to see what he does. Now, also kind of going back to the animation, there are a few scenes in this that's just kind of generic looking, like the very first scene, the opening scene, where it's showing Bruce Wayne racing the cars. It's just very jerky and it just doesn't look very natural. I mean, even for like an animated film, I mean, I know they could have done better. It just didn't seem to work too well at times, but very few times. That's just one of the small examples of that, where the animation is kind of generic. You know, but one thing where the animation is really awesome is some of the panels that's pulled directly from the graphic novel, like the one of where Batman's jumping through the storm and the lightning strikes. They show that in the trailer. It's spot on, man, just amazing. And like I said, all the characters really look good. So the animation, you know, it's pretty damn good. So overall, guys, on this, I give this a 9 out of 10. I think newbies that don't know anything about this story are going to love it. I think, you know, some longtime fans that's, you know, really into the graphic novel, some are going to grumble. I've already heard some grumblings, but I think overall, I just think people's going to enjoy this because it's about as damn close as you could possibly get. If you're a fan of the graphic novel and you hate this movie, please let me know why, because I can't for the life of me understand how any fan could hate the film. It's just, like I said, as close as you could possibly get to the damn show, you know, to the book. Sorry for rambling so much. Sorry if a lot of this hasn't made sense, guys. I'm really freaking tired, but I wanted to do this, you know, jump in here and do this review before I get too relaxed and unmotivated to do it. But yeah, 9 out of 10 for the film. Now, as far as the Blu-ray quality goes on this, I give it 9 out of 10 also. It's pretty damn good. It looked great on Blu-ray. A lot of the colors really pop out, really bright colors. Animation on Blu-ray just looks great. Now the special features on here, there's a lot of cool stuff. Batman: The Dark Knight Returns digital comic, which I'm not exactly sure. I haven't checked that out, but as far as I know, it's the entire comic digitally. You can watch, you know, go through on your menu on here, so that's pretty cool. Her name is Carrie. Her role is Batman, or her role is Robin featurette. Basically, that's talking about, you know, just females in comics in general, and it really dives into a lot of the female characters throughout the Batman mythology over the years. Then there is Batman, the Bob Kane story featurette. This has been featured on a lot of Batman releases in the past, paying tribute to Bob Kane through old photos, old newsreels, old home footage. I think this was actually even on year one. So, yeah. Then it has From the Vault 2 bonus cartoons, which are both of the introduction to Two-Face out of the animated series from the 90s. Really awesome episodes. I didn't watch them on this, but I've seen them before. They're awesome episodes for people who've never seen the animated series before from the 90s. Check those out because they're really good. And then there's a preview of the next movie, The Dark Knight Returns Part 2. Really cool. Nothing really finished as far as animation. I mean, a few little small parts, but there's some storyboards. It shows some of the voice actors doing their thing. And this is where you really get to see Michael Emerson as the Joker. You know, you really get to hear how he sounds. Like I said, in this one, only a few small lines, but if you watch this extra, you get to hear how his voice is, and his laugh is phenomenal. I mean, if nothing else, his laugh is going to be awesome as the Joker. I mean, it's just really, really cool, guys. So check this out. The bonus features on this, I give them 7 out of 10. I mean, it's not. I think they could have done a little bit more with it, but still, at least it's not bare bones. You get a little bit of stuff. There's a few trailers on here. It has the Dark Knight Rises trailer in high def. It looks awesome. I can't wait until that comes out on Blu-ray. But overall, guys, this is a great film. Well worth checking out. If you've never seen it, it's still the grittiest, darkest, most violent, and nihilistic Batman story ever told. I mean, even over Christopher Nolan's films. So, yeah, guys, this is out now. Go check it out. I appreciate you all watching my tired, rambling review. I'm Jason. Have a good one, guys. Later.